We are on to the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, and I'm here to give you my favorite NFL player props specifically for Saturday's games. I got 4 total plays for you guys. Again, NFL divisional round, NFL betting slate, specifically Saturday, January 20th. We got 49ers versus Packers, and we got Texans versus Ravens. Before I can give you those picks for Saturday, I do want to recap wildcard weekend as a whole, because it was an awesome weekend. I unfortunately went 0-2 on Monday, but all 3 of the days went very well for us. I gave out a total of 11 picks, which is a lot, admittedly, but we got 7 of those 11 to cash, so we went 7-4. A lot of pretty juicy plus money bangers as well. We end the day up over 4, we end the weekend up over 4 units. And it could have been a lot better if we had gotten any of Monday's plays to cash, but still, we will take that type of weekend anytime we can get it. 7-4, up over 4 units. That brings our entire profit season to date. We are up 21.29 units with an ROI of 10.47%. We did hit a little bit of a snag at the end of the season, but we seem to have gotten out of that. We've had a good couple of weeks now with these NFL player props. Let's hope we can keep it together for the divisional round. So the first game that we're going to talk about is the first game on schedule, Texans versus Ravens. First pick, Lamar Jackson over 50.5 rushing yards. This is at -114 odds at FanDuel. So I will say, initially, looking at this game, I thought the weather was going to end up being a huge factor. It's looking like it's not going to be a major, huge, game-changing factor, only a minor factor instead. It's still going to matter. It's still going to have an impact on passing, but it's not to a crazy amount. Winds in this game are going to be at some points above 20 miles per hour, which is a lot, and sustained winds around 15 miles per hour. That will impact some deep balls, some balls that aren't given a ton of velocity on them. But it's not as though the teams just aren't going to be able to throw the ball or anything like that. The feels like temperature is going to be around 10 degrees. Definitely really cold, not Dolphins Chiefs level cold. So I just wanted to get that out there in case people were curious about the weather. With that said, in this matchup, my favorite prop, obviously, we're targeting here is Lamar Jackson rushing yards. The Texans have such a stout rushing defense that I generally don't trust any of the Ravens running backs, especially when you consider the fact that they added Dalvin Cook. We're not sure how that split is going to work. I'm not expecting Cook to get that much work, but even if he takes some of the workload away from Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, that's yards that they're not getting. Also, you just can't run on the Texans. According to DVOA, they have the second best run defense in the entire NFL. Only the Dolphins are better than them. What the Texans do, they're a pass funnel. They want teams to pass on them. They welcome the pass, and teams are able to do so successfully. According to DVOA, the Texans have the 23rd ranked passing defense in the NFL. So because the Ravens are just a higher passing frequency team with Todd Monken as their offensive coordinator, I do expect Lamar Jackson, to be dropping back a decent amount. But with the minor weather issues, my prediction is that he's going to end up tucking and running more than he does normally. I also like his rush attempts, which you can get at 9.5, but I'm more confident in the yards, which is why we're going with the yards. This is a number that Jackson has cleared in 7 of 16 games this year. Generally, quarterbacks tend to run more in the playoffs when the games matter more and they're not saving their legs or trying to avoid an injury. So I do really like this play. That's a 1 unit, full unit play on Lamar Jackson, his rushing yards. Next up, same game, we're taking Gus Edwards anytime touchdown, plus 135 odds at ESPN Bet. So initially, I gave this play out at plus 130, but ESPN Bet ended up having better odds at plus 135, which you can still lock in, at least at the time of this recording. While I don't love Edwards' yards, I do absolutely love his anytime touchdown. First of all, we are getting a really good price here at plus 135, or if you can only get the plus 130 at FanDuel, that's a really good price as well. Every other book has their number, their price, pretty decently below the plus 135 or the plus 130. DraftKings is at -115. Caesars is at plus 110. Pretty good price. And despite the fact that I don't like his rushing yards, I love him to score. Edwards is absolutely the main goal line back for the Ravens, and I do not expect that to change even with the addition of Dalvin Cook. And not only that, Edwards had a really good end to the season as well. To start the year, not so much. He only scored 1 touchdown in the Ravens' first 6 games of the year. Since then, he scored a touchdown in 8 of 10 games. That includes 3 games in that stretch in which he scored multiple touchdowns. He by far is the leader in the clubhouse for red zone work for the Ravens. If you take inside the 20, which is the red zone, Gus Edwards has 39 carries for, 39 carries inside the 20 for 13 touchdowns. Sorry, the numbers got a little jumbled there. 39 carries inside the 20 for 13 touchdowns. The next closest player on the Ravens is Justice Hill with 25 carries. And then if you isolate this inside the 5-yard line, which are the really, really high leverage carries, it gets even better for Gus Edwards. 23 carries inside the 5 for 12 touchdowns. Justice Hill is once again the next closest, only with 4 carries for 2 touchdowns. So 23 carries to 4 for the next closest back is pretty good. And I know I talked about how tough and good the Texans' run defense is. I'm talking about goal line work here. I'm not talking about Edwards' rushing yards. Kareem Hunt, he's washed, scored twice against the Texans last week, both in the red zone. I think Edwards can get it done for us for the plus 135 or plus 130. It's great, great value. That's our second play. Now we move on to the Packers versus 49ers game. And our first play is Deebo Samuel, anytime touchdown, plus 105 odds at FanDuel. Another anytime touchdown play and another great price that we're getting that I love getting for plus money for Deebo to score. Only BetMGM is the only other sportsbook that has this for plus money. They have it at plus 100. Every other book for minus money. Caesars, an absurdly high minus 137 for him to score. DraftKings, minus 105. ESPN Bet, minus 110. And Deebo, similar to Gus Edwards, had a really, really good ending to the year. Really came on late. Deebo scored 2 touchdowns in the first 5 games for the 49ers, which is still decent. 40% hit rate isn't terrible. That was up until the 49ers bye week. After the bye week, Deebo was on fire. After the bye week, he scored a touchdown in 6 of 8 games and had an absurd stretch where he scored multiple touchdowns in 3 straight games. Such a dynamic weapon for such a dynamic offense. He can take a screen pass to the house. And I also like the fact that they love to get him involved in the red zone creatively, not just as a drop back pass type of receiver. They'll use him on end arounds. They'll even give him straight normal carries from the backfield. And he's such an electric weapon. I love for him to score. I expect there to be a ton of points in this one. I did give out the over in a previous video. Obviously, you're not going to get any value on McCaffrey anytime touchdown or McCaffrey even 2 touchdowns. There's no value on that. So for an anytime touchdown play, I think the best value here is on Deebo to score at plus 105 odds. That's our third play. Next up, fourth and final pick for the slate. We're taking Christian McCaffrey, 100 plus rushing yards, best offered at BetRivers at plus 135 odds. You can also get it at plus 124 at FanDuel. Either way, both of those numbers are a pretty good price. DraftKings has this for plus 105. Caesars has it actually for minus money at minus 105. And for our final play, feels good to go with a pumped up prop, albeit not pumped up to a crazy amount. And I got to say, expecting McCaffrey to have a good game is not exactly the hottest of takes. It's kind of Captain Obvious, but I still like the McCaffrey 100 plus rushing yards. On the year, he's gotten 100 or more rushing yards in a total of 7 games. Similar to the other 3 players, really ended the year on a hot streak. He hit it in 4 of his last 5 games. And I'm taking out the Commanders game because he only played limited snaps in that one. He was taken out when the 49ers were winning by a ton with a precautionary injury. That's not going to be the case in this one. He will not get limited work unless he gets hurt again, and you can't predict injuries. This is a game in which I expect the 49ers to run the ball with ease. I think they're going to be able to move the ball up and down the field on the Packers. And unlike the game last week for the Packers, I don't expect this to be a game where the Packers are consistently playing ahead. What I see happening in this one is a heavy workload for Christian McCaffrey on one of the best running teams in the NFL against one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL. The Packers have the 26th ranked run defense according to DVOA on the season. They allowed 128.3 rushing yards per game. That's ranked 28th in the NFL, and they allowed 4.4 yards per carry, which is 22nd in the NFL. We all know the history of what Shanahan does to the Packers in the playoffs. We've seen time and time again his teams run wild on the Packers in the playoffs. I guess some of that does go back to the Harbaugh days, but Packers, 49ers just run the ball all over the Packers in the playoffs. That's what happens. I expect something to happen similarly in this one as well with McCaffrey. And if you want to take McCaffrey 2+ touchdowns, That's plus 145 odds. Not worth that price, in my opinion. The only way really you can get value backing McCaffrey, in my opinion, is his rushing yards prop. So getting him for plus 135 to get to 100 plus when most books have his main line around 92.5, that's really, really good value, in my opinion. I really like this one. Hopefully, McCaffrey comes through, cashing our fourth and final pick of the evening. And that's how we got 4 plays for Saturday's betting slate for you guys, NFL betting slate for you guys to lock in. If you are riding with me, make sure to comment and let me know. Other than that, remember to like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. Appreciate everybody for watching, and have a good one.